Well, and if you're comfortable with it, I mean, can we ask you a little bit about your, the domestic violence
Mhm.
and sexual and all the stuff you've been through?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with it now, and it's been in a long time. I'm 38 years old. It happened when I was 19. Well, when I was about 15 to 19 years old. I was in a relationship with a guy that was about 6 years older than me. Um, and, it was my first relationship, like, the first thing I'd ever experienced, so I didn't know what it was supposed to look like. I just felt really good that an older guy liked me and thought
Yeah.
I was great. But long story short, it was one of those situations where I dove in because I'm a lover and that's just who I am in my nature, and, I it progressively got worse and worse, but I didn't know the signs, like, I was too young and naive. I had no idea what an abusive relationship was like, and so, there were so many things that were abusive in the process of it, mentally and emotionally, that I passed up and just kind of sucked it up through because I really loved this guy. It was like my first everything. Um, and it wasn't until later in the relationship that well, one, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of my family even got to a point where they were just like, "We don't know what to do. You won't leave this person. You won't get out of this relationship, and you're hiding it now from us. You're lying. You're sneaking off to see this person that we all know is horrible to you." And so a lot of people can't understand that, and I get it now, but um it got to the point where it got very physically abusive too, and there were several things that happened, um that led up to the final point where I knew I had to leave. I had to leave. I fled the entire state, actually. Um, long story short, we were broken up. We're at this fair, and he had cheated on me, and so, um, I was there with other friends, and there was an altercation between
Like
the
you
2
you
of us.
just found out he cheated on you, like, at the fair, or
No, like, I had already found out we broke up,
oh, okay.
and then, well, I didn't find out that he cheated on me. I walked in on him cheating on me, actually,
Oh, wow,
Oh,
even worse.
no.
which was not fun.
No.
Yeah, we had been broken up for a while, and he finally convinced me to take him back, which, again, I was just, like, so young and stupid, and I did, and then I thought, "Okay, he's changed this time, he really has," and this is what abuse victims always do. They're like, "He's gonna change, he wants to change," because when you're empathetic and you see someone in pain, you think that means that it really matters to them, that they really care, that they're really sorry, and it doesn't always, but I'd taken him back, gone home that weekend because I was living out of the same town, and we were supposed to get together, couldn't get a hold of him, couldn't get a hold of him, and then finally later that night, someone I don't even remember who it was. I think it was my best friend called me, because her boyfriend was friends with him, and they were out drinking and partying, and they saw him leave with a girl from the bar, and I was like, "You've gotta be kidding me," like, "You've got to be kidding me," and so I went to his house, and he answered the door, and he was in his boxers, and I knew. I knew because I heard the girl's voice when I was knocking on the door. Um, and then I heard, like, scurrying,
Mhm.
and, anyway, I got inside, and I was like, "I know there's someone here, like, I'm not stupid," and I was looking around, couldn't find her. I looked under their bed, and there's a bra and underwear under there. And at that point, I'm like, "Just tell me where this person is." Like, I was in a rage,
Yeah.
Mm.
like you wouldn't believe. And anyway, long story short, I ended up finding her. She was in the attic hiding,
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
naked,
Oh.
completely naked, and she was a girl I worked with. And,
Oh, even worse.
but she didn't know it wasn't her fault.
Oh, okay.
Like, I know this is so shocking. You're like, "What?"
Damn.
Soap opera, but, she left. Anyway, so the week following, that had happened, and he had come up to me at this fair, and he called me some names. I threw my drink in his face and was gonna leave, and, he followed me, grabbed me by my hair, dragged me down the sidewalk in front of, hundreds of people,
And no one
and
did anything?
yeah, they did,
Okay,
actually. Thank God.
good.
Yeah, there was a group of guys there. I actually I'll get to that in a minute, but there was a group of guys there a few years older than me in high school, and they saw him, and they came running after him, pulled him off of me, and I took off running. And the fair had closed down, so it was really dark, and all the rides were just like it was like out of a scary movie, and I remember running down, like, the middle of this main street with all like, it was dark, and there's all these rides just, like it's such a weird,
Creepy.
That
Yeah.
creepy
sounds
thing, yeah, and I remembered hearing footsteps behind me, and I knew it was him, and I grabbed my phone, and I started to call my friend who lived really close by, and I was gonna run to her house. And I saw his hand come around from behind me, grab my phone and throw it. And then he grabbed me by my arm, dragged me into this alley, and, he pushed me up against the wall and was strangling me and telling me he was gonna kill me. And I believe him, I believed him. And by the grace of God, that same group of guys had the wisdom to, like, keep following him. And I just all I remember is I remember being there. I obviously, his hands around my throat and thinking, "This is it." And I remember them all the guys, I hear, like, yelling, and I see them come around the corner, out of the corner of my eye, and then they pull him off of me, and I took off running again. And I remember I stopped right before crossing a road to where my friend's house was at, and I remember looking back, and for a moment, I thought, "I should go back and help him," because I saw these guys kicking him. I mean, I could see blood on his face, like, I knew they were, like,
Giving him what he deserved,
Yeah.
completely honest.
yeah, but there was a
But it's
part of me that almost felt bad,
Yeah.
and then I thought, "No, no, I can't do that," and so I just continued on and anyway, long story short, it was after that that I was like, "I have to get out of here because if he doesn't kill me, I'll end up wanting to kill myself, and I don't know that I have the strength right now in my life to not do that." So, I left, I moved about 3.5 hours away.
and where was this? Where were you?
I was in Illinois
Okay.
at that time, and I moved to Missouri and ended up moving in with my mom who lived there. But it took me a long, long time to, like, recover from that, and I never went and got therapy or really talked about it, except to, like, super close friends, and I carried that with me for a long time, and I was too young to understand that, like, what you don't process stays in your body, right? I didn't know that. I didn't know it would affect the decisions that I made in, like, choosing a partner or choosing who to date or how it would affect the way that I felt about myself and whether I was worthy or not. And so then when I was in my early 20s and I ended up in a situation where I was assaulted, that was just another layer, right? On top of that. And then again, didn't know what to do with that. I just tucked it away, didn't tell anybody about it for a really long time. I felt gross about it. I felt ashamed of it. And yeah, I let that carry over until I got married, and then getting married was really difficult because I was carrying all this stuff that was affecting the way I felt about myself, the way I showed up in the world, the way I showed up in relationships, the unworthiness that I felt, and it just made it really difficult. Not to say that my ex-husband was perfect, he wasn't, but I do think a lot of the problems that we had stemmed from the unworthiness that I felt. And
Mhm.
so when I marriage ended and I started dating toxic men again, I thought the number of people out there that aren't healed isn't gonna change, but I can change me. I can get to a place in my life where I no longer accept what I know I don't deserve. Like, I deserve to be treated well. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be cared for and thought of and considered. And that won't change until I change the way that I accept people into my life, and the things that I accept for myself. And so that was kind of where my healing journey began. And I started with therapy, and that changed a lot for me. Um, and then I started sharing it and sharing like what I was experiencing kind of vaguely, but with a spin of encouragement because that helped me. And it just started helping so many people that I thought, I have to keep going. And then even when people would write horrific things or awful comments or leave me weird messages that were like just hateful and mean, I thought, well, it's not for them.
Mhm.
It's for myself and it's for the people that need it. So I'm going to keep going. And that's what I've just kind of done for the last 2.5 years. So
Oh, so like through the domestic violence and the sexual assault, I mean, how have those experiences shaped the way that you see the world today?
for a long time, I was very jaded. A long time, very distrusting of people, men in particular, as I'm sure you can imagine. Um, but I've realized that it's not about and here's what happens, and I think this is important to talk about. What happens in the domestic violence world, and I know a lot about this since I'm in it, is that women, because men are so much more often the perpetrators of domestic violence, it can happen both ways, but it's mostly male dominated in that area, which makes sense. But because of that, what happens a lot is the argument becomes men are bad and women don't need men and women shouldn't trust men. And so for a while, I kind of felt that way. because every story I heard, everything I saw, all the research I was doing was showing me that men hurt women and hate women, right? But through healing, I've realized that if we're really honest with ourselves, it's not about men being bad, women being good, or women being bad and men being good. It's a personal basis of who we are. It's a personal thing. It's there are good men, there are bad men, there are good women, there are bad women. And by bad, I don't even mean that. I just mean unhealed, really. And if we don't bridge the gap between each other, it will always just be, well, all men are bad, all women are bad, and then nothing ever changes. And so I've tried to make it a point, like on my platform, to speak to everyone and not just women, even though women are the ones that are victims most of the time, because women, that this issue doesn't go away until we all heal together. And if we villainize one another, we'll never come together on anything.
Yeah, I think I think overgeneralizing any group of anything. Like, I mean, there's bad, quote unquote bad versions of everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
there's bad police officers, there's bad
Mhm.
teachers, there's bad everything. Like, you can't just automatically just assume like all men are bad or all
Right.
women are bad, or we can't just overgeneralize and just put everybody in one specific box. I
That's
mean,
right.
everybody's got different experiences and different, you know, uh, I mean, everybody's got different lives,
Right.
so trauma has a way of shaping the world. How did your past experiences like affect your marriage, mental health, even your sense of self? How do you
Mm.
think?
Well, first of all, as I said, I didn't know how to sit with it. I didn't know how to process trauma. I didn't even know that you needed to. I just kind of thought like your past is your past, you move forward, you let it go. And there's different, takes on that of whether you should go back and sit with things or whether you should just like look to the future. And I think it's a combination of both. For me, my entire self-concept was based around the fact that I had been abused and rejected in my life a lot. And so I didn't believe I was worthy of a healthy relationship. I didn't believe that people would ever really like me or love me. And so every relationship I had, even friendships, was kind of based on the idea of waiting for someone to drop the ball, like waiting for someone to hurt me, waiting for someone to reject me. And I still, to this day, struggle with it. Like, I still have to, like, snap out of it sometimes and be like, "Hey, like, you're a good person. You're doing a good job. You're doing your best. You're showing up as well as you possibly can, and people do like you." Like, it sounds so silly, but I still have to remind myself of that sometimes. And, um, but yeah, I think my self-worth most of my life was really poor because I didn't sit with the trauma, and I didn't accept it, and I didn't see the bigger picture that the things that people do to you aren't your fault. Like, bad things happen to good people all the time, and it's not because you deserved it. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's just life. And if you can find the lesson in the pain and you can turn the perspective around and go, okay, like this really, really hurt, but I actually survived it. And then you can use that pain to help other people. And I think that's the whole purpose of it. So I sadly, I struggled with severe depression for a really long time and a severe, you know, self-worth, like just damaging self-worth and crippling self-worth and all of that because of those reasons. But I'm finally like at a place in my life where I really believe in myself. But I had to change me. I had to sit with the dark stuff and get really honest about how I felt about myself. And 2.5 years ago, it wasn't very, very good. I didn't like myself at all. I thought there's no point in me being here. Like, I'm not helping anyone. I'm not doing anything. No one ever wants to be with me. No one likes me. And which is ridiculous because none of that was true. That's just how I felt about myself. But sitting in that, as dark as it was and as hard as it changed me because when you can accept where you are, you can change where you're going, you know? So